Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Overwhelmed? That was me with diabetes. Hey, I'm Jabron. Between teaching and coaching, managing diabetes felt like an extra job. With the Freestyle Libre 3 CGM, I get real-time glucose readings and have the insights to make informed decisions. My life feels lighter now. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. May have felt like a quiet night in sports. I did see a couple stars do a couple of awesome things, which is why we like stars, right? Shohei Ohtani, Leo Messi. Two pretty big names, two big-time stars. Messi, hat trick, scores all three of Argentina's goals. They shut out Algeria. Now, Argentina's defending champs. They've got bigger goals than beating Algeria. But what a way to start. Messi gets a World Cup hat trick. Unreal. We'll see where Argentina goes from here. And then there's the Los Angeles Dodgers playing the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa and the Dodgers, a couple of the top, I guess depending on your power poll or what you think, top 4, top 5, top 6 teams in Major League Baseball. The Rays aren't leading their division now. The Yankees are leading the AL East, and the Rays are second. But they're playing just a little under 600 ball. The Rays have the second best record in the American League. And then over in the National League, you got the Dodgers sitting on 47 wins, which is the most wins in Major League Baseball. Now, they played more games, so they don't have a better win percentage than the Atlanta Braves, but the Dodgers are right there as two-time champs, looking awesome. So they get locked into a pitcher's duel. The game only had 9 hits, only 1 error, only 1 walk. It was really kind of, in that regard, playoff baseball. And 6th inning, scoreless game, Shohei Ohtani homers to center field. 400-footer, 427 feet to be exact. And that turns out to be the game's only run. Shohei 1, Rays nothing. Final score. Stars, man. 2 of them delivering. Messi delivers the hat trick. Shohei delivers the home run. And you can cobble a team together. And you got to put a team around him. You don't get a shutout in either sport without having a team around him. But in the biggest moment, yeah, who lights up the scoreboard? The Stars. There you go. All right. We've got other stuff to get to. We've got the fallout from Brendan Sorsby. Where is he going to go in the NFL? How high a pick will someone use? Will someone use a 3rd or 4th round pick on him? Would they rather do that than, say, use a 1st round pick on any of the bunch of big name quarterbacks who are supposed to be coming out next year? Arch Manning probably leading the parade, but there's several guys, right? And watch Oregon. You got to – it doesn't stop there either. But – hey, why use a 1st round pick there? You're not sure who's going to be on the board when you draft, and 3rd or 4th round, you can probably, I don't know if you can get 4th. You might have to go 3rd to get Sorsby. It'll be interesting. And they're the usual teams, right? Pittsburgh needs a quarterback because Rodgers is retiring. Cleveland needs a quarterback because, well, they signed a really expensive quarterback and drafted 2 quarterbacks a year ago, and they still don't have a starter out of that group. So, and the Jets, perennial the Jets, absolutely put the Jets in there. Now the Cardinals they need a quarterback, but they just used a 3rd round pick. And maybe the Vikings need a long-term answer because he used a pick, but it doesn't look like he's the right guy. So there's certainly other teams out there that could be in the market. So we'll see what happens with Sorsby. Coming up later in the show, you're going to hear from Bob Casper. He joins us at 8 o'clock. We'll have the draft for the U.S. Open Golf Championship. Who is going to win? Who's the guy? And is Scotty Scheffler going to win? Because he's got a bunch of second-place finishes, but he hasn't been winning at the clip he normally has. Is his run over? We'll talk with Bob about that. Brian Taylor joined us yesterday. We'll replay that interview for you coming up later this hour. So plenty of golf on the way with the U.S. Open at Shinnecock. And we got our conversation with Mark Harlan coming up. We'll get to that next. Interesting conversation with Mark. He's all in on this deal with Otro Capital. And he does, and as you'll hear him say, he does get the reservations of private equity. I've got mine, but, everybody brings their own bias, as we like to say, and so I threw mine out there right off the top of the interview. Company bought Channel 2 when I was there, owned them for, I hope I get the time right, but I think 3 or 4 years. And, it was pretty wild. We'd been owned by a stereotypical broadcaster, Westinghouse, and then CBS, and all of a sudden we're owned by Cerberus. 4 Points was the company they created, but this $19 billion fund was sitting behind, and they were trying to figure out, reportedly, allegedly, did they want to buy a network like CBS? And they want to learn about broadcasting, own a company, get to look at the books, all that kind of stuff, see how it runs, see where they could find some maybe some more value, maybe find some inefficiencies they could eliminate, which would be people's jobs ultimately. And it was a pretty wild ride. And they ultimately decided not to buy into broadcasting. And they moved on to do other stuff. But the company was called Cerberus, which is the three-headed dog in Greek mythology that guarded the gates to Hades. When you name your company that, and then you buy the TV station I work at, yeah. In the words of Craig Bullerjack, buckle up. But this could be a little different at the U because they are bringing in people who have experience in pro sports, as opposed to where I'm working with a company where they've got just no broadcast experience and they're trying to learn the business. They're going to have some people here who have experience working with the Saints and working with the Dallas Cowboys. And so what can they do? And personally, I'm really intrigued. What can they do in the Huntsman Center? I mean, this is first and foremost a football endeavor in college sports these days. But nonetheless, you can have $1 million plus gates, depending on what you do with the luxury suiting and the premium seating as they redo the arena. How much of it do they build? How aggressively can they price it? How good is the team? There's a little chicken and the egg. The team can't be good until you have money, but you don't have money to make the team good until you fill that premium and luxury suite seating. So that's a little difficult thing, but hey, people who sign up for ADs, you're the ones who wanted these jobs, right? That is the trick. But I do think there's upside there. I think they could generate a lot more money in a redesigned Huntsman Center. A lot for men's basketball, but maybe they could bump up the, gymnastics, volleyball, and women's basketball are in there. So it might be a chance to generate a little money there too, but specifically in men's basketball. So intriguing. Mark explains his vision and some of the things he's facing. We'll get to that conversation next. Stay with us.
Overwhelmed? That was me with diabetes. Hey, I'm Jabron. Between teaching and coaching, managing diabetes felt like an extra job. With the Freestyle Libre 3 CGM, I get real-time glucose readings and have the insights to make informed decisions. My life feels lighter now. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Hey, it's your ceiling vent, so I'm dripping. Could be the rain, could be the upstairs bathroom. Yikes. You could hire the guy your neighbor recommended, but I'm pretty sure that's just his cousin. Do we know if he's licensed, or does he just own a ladder?
Listen to your home. Go with Thumbtack. Upload a photo or voice note and we'll diagnose your project and match you with the right pro for the job. Thumbtack. We know homes. Hire the right pro today.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are joined now by University of Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
We are doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. A lot of people want to know about the deal with Otro Capital, and a lot of people, when they hear private equity, get shivers up and down their spine. I'll just admit my bias. Worked at a TV station owned by private equity, and it was a disconcerting experience at best. How much money are they guaranteed? Because a lot of people go to that right away and just think they're going to get their money. This isn't going to help the U win games, which is what Ute fans want to see. How is this going to work? How much money are they guaranteed? How much money are you projecting you're going to generate for the U that you can put back into supporting programs and building teams and programs and winning games?
Well, at least I know where you stand.
Yeah.
I forget, you guys start at 6, so you're an hour ahead of me in waking up. But let me just say this. We're excited about this deal. We've been working on it for 3 years. It's something that, Taylor Randall, the president here, and his team, and myself and my team, 3 years ago, trying to predict this business, which is always difficult. But the one thing we knew was that things were going to get a lot more expensive with payroll coming. We also knew that with a sold-out football stadium, record fundraising, a lot of other things that were going on, we just weren't able to catch that mark that we wanted to hit. So listening to a lot of presentations in the Big 12, a lot of different private equity firms came through. It became clear to me that wasn't a model in terms of just having money to get capital. We can go out and get loans for a lot cheaper than that. But what we wanted to do was to get better in our business. And so what we've done here is we found a company that, yes, is certainly private equity is a part of it, but they're also operators, which is a big difference from a lot of different places that have experienced private equity. We're creating a company, Crimson Brand Partners, is going to eventually have about 60 to 70 people in it. All our revenue operators from athletics, the ones that are interviewing with them now, the ones that are coming in are going to create a new company for us. It's going to be greatly helpful. Yes, there's upfront capital that's coming into us, but the most important thing that I'm focused on is how we can obviously figure out the different ways to combine the university's overall corporate program along with licensing, concessions, all the things that really weren't a part of athletics, now all coming together with our revenue streams and our revenue staff. And the outcome here is that we compete at the top level. We keep all our sports. We have a strong NIL program. And we just get better. I'm not going to get into the financial details of all of it. I know that's folks want to hear that, but rest assured, we spent a lot of time negotiating this, looking at the value, and at the end of the day, we've created an asset for our revenue here in the new company, and we'll be able to monetize that going forward.
The Crimson Brand Partners, I think, is the title, as you said, and you're the chairman. Matt Webb is the CEO, and he'll be in charge of the day-to-day operations. How does that work in terms of the chairman versus the CEO and just how the structure is and how it comes to pass that things get done?
Matt's terrific. He joins us from the the New Orleans Saints and the Pelicans, where he ran their customer relations and revenue departments. Comes here with a lot of experience, just a tremendous young man. He'll lead that team. The vice presidents are being hired now. Some are already here, coming from the Arizona Cardinals, coming from the Kansas City Royals. Just a really interesting and experienced group. Also, many of them have experience in college, too. So, not unlike any of my directors that we meet with now, Matt and I will meet regularly and going over all the future plans. A lot of what I want, what the department wants, what President Randall wants will be incorporated into what they're doing along the way. But what I love to see is they're coming in with just a deep breadth of experience, from outside areas, which I think will help us. And they're going to be able to I think the big thing here is just combining all the assets of the university into packages for corporate donors going forward. And I think that's something that corporate partners have really wanted. So in terms of how it works, if there is a conflict, and I don't anticipate there will be, let's say there's a sponsor that we don't want to work with for whatever reason, obviously university has governance rights over the situation, and we would manage that if it gets to the board level. But he and I will work very closely together.
What are these other assets around the university that you want to combine with? How would average fans see that when they come to the campus on a game day? How would that have an impact? What would they see and notice?
I think, each company is going to be able to want different things, but the one thing that we just haven't been able to do, and this is really probably at many campuses, is there's a lot of parts of this university. When this university is on a full school day, I think we're one of the biggest cities in outside of Salt Lake. When we are all here together, there's so much happening here, and the depth and breadth that corporate partnerships want to have and corporate partners want to have is what they're going to be creating. So, yes, signs and radio ads and all the great things that you get in athletic sponsorship can be deepened by other opportunities at the university. So that's what we're looking to create going forward. President Randall has been great in looking at that path, and I think that's something that's going to be really helpful. As far as the fans, obviously what we want to do is improve the experiences too. I mean, we've got a basketball arena that's obviously being addressed. We're looking at different opportunities on that going forward, but we want to be great in the way we present the show, the entertainment part of it. I thought we made some strides when we got into conference last year, but some of these folks are coming in that have been a big part of those kind of shows going forward. So we want to really add more for the fans. In terms of, prices, I know people go right up and say everything's going to be more expensive. Well, obviously football tickets have gone up every year, for a long time here. We always have to be really smart about that. We've got to be careful with the market. We had another 95+% renewal in football, and we can't take that for granted. We have to always continue to treat our fans in the best possible way. So we'll be very communicative about this. DJ, I would say in your opening comments about private equity, I agree. The first reaction is not a good one. So it's going to be our responsibility to really get these guys out and about and talk about what they're planning on doing.
So much about it is NIL. Your former coach said it as it was just getting started. We're going to see a time where top 25 mirrors the NIL, and many coaches have just added to that, and it's obvious it's so important. How does this affect and help NIL?
Well, that's a big part of it. Thanks for the question. I mean, first of all, they're going to take over the funding of our rev share. That's part of their responsibility. Now the money will come here and we'll distribute it the way I see fit, our GMs see fit, and our coaches see fit. But the other piece of that, they will have an NIL staff members in the part of the organization of Crimson Brand Partners. And my expectation, and something we've talked a lot about, is our student athletes appear in these deals and they're authentic, and allows us to get more branding of our athletes, across the city and the valley in general, perhaps the state. So that's something that we really want to do. These guys are experts in this. They've worked with a lot of NFL and NBA players and helping them with different deals. So we're working with a group that spent a lot more time in the pro space. So I think that they're going to really help us in a lot of different ways. We've had massive improvements this last year in our structure of NIL and the things we've been able to do, and I think this is only going to add, more to that going forward.
As far as structure, I had a manager tell me once, you're talking about sales staff and adding people and subtracting people, all that, and he said, it can never be big enough. He said there's 25,000 licensed businesses just in Salt Lake County. None of the surrounding counties, just Salt Lake County. He says, and you get sales staffs in the media, and you could have 6, 8, a dozen people on a team. 20 would be huge. And he said, even if they're knocking on 3 doors a day, which is an unsustainable pace, 60 in a month, you can't knock on all these doors. How big, as you bring in another company, how big are they? How many doors can they help you knock on? Because it does seem like there's a lot of business out there, but there's only so many hours in a day to try and contact all these people and connect them to your product.
Well, I think one of the things that we have to do a better job at is getting deeper relationships with these sponsors. Sometimes it's not so much about the quantity of doors you knock on, but the quality of the doors that open. Yeah. And what kind of sponsor do you want to have? It doesn't. I don't want to say less means more, but in the case of corporate partnerships, sometimes it can be that way. And I think now we're going to open up the available assets in a different and more profound way. That I think it gives us a better chance. And certainly, as you look at our friends, down with Ryan's team down there, I mean, they've got some they don't have a ton of sponsors, but they have a lot of quality sponsors, and that's something that we're really aiming to do. High level, deep partners that are invested in the program, and a win-win relationship for each. And I think we've got a lot of those here, and many of them we're really, really proud of. I just think we need to do more, and I think that this system allows us to do that.
Talk of guys and the reduction of workforce, and when I say guys, it's gender neutral, obviously. I'm just wondering how many positions do you think are going to be eliminated from existing employees?
So we moved, about 16 of these positions that are currently in the athletic department. Those positions are moving into Crimson Brand Partners because those are our revenue producers. Those are our brand enhancers. Those are the folks that are involved with some type of revenue generation outside of philanthropy. Philanthropy will stay with the athletic department. So those people have the opportunity to interview with the new company, and that's the process that's undergoing now. We have a lot of great people, and I suspect many, if not most, will be a part of Crimson Brand Partners going forward.
Do you think other schools are going to do this? Because certainly one of the hits the U has taken here is they're doing it. It's because they're desperate. Nobody else is doing this. It isn't a great idea. Blah blah blah. You know the deal.
I mean,
are other schools?
I don't agree. I don't agree with that. Okay. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the feeling. I think maybe that's what you feel, but I don't feel that is what we're hearing. I think people are looking at this as an innovative approach that we've been working on for 3 years. Doing nothing was not going to work, right? I will say that come January, when everyone's reporting how much it costs with the first year of revenue share going on, they're going to be looking at the schools that decided, you know what, we got to be bold, we got to be different, we got to figure something out that works for us, and that's what Taylor Randall and his staff and all of us here were able to do. I've probably received no less than 30 to 40 phone calls from presidents and ADs asking how we structured this. How is it that you can get better? Talk to me how you're going to do that. So I don't think we've taken a lot of arrows. I know we certainly have taken some, but I would say it's the opposite. I think a lot of people have been impressed at what we're trying to do, and I think that it's our job to go out and try to make sure people understand that. And now that we've signed it and now that people are arriving, that's what we're going to do.
During this 3-year process, as you say, how many other companies did you research, investigate, interview? I don't know exactly what would be the right word, but I think you get the point.
Talked to a lot of companies, and a lot of them didn't have the kind of operational expertise that Otro had. You know, it was formed by guys that were operators. You know, one was the senior vice president for Jerry Jones and helped build the stadium there. He then went to the Cleveland Browns, became the president, and he hired some people at the Cleveland Browns. And then this group kind of all came together and were able to form a company because I think they saw that their operating experience along with equity could really help companies. And we studied the ones they work with. We talked to people that were around them, and we felt that these guys were a great fit. And then we got to know them, right? When you're learning and listening and going through the process that we went through for so long. I went to New York multiple times. They've been out here multiple times. You just realize that these guys are a great fit. And I think, again, once people in the community get to realize who they are and what we're all trying to do here is make the Utes, sustain the greatness that we've been able to do, I think people will understand why we did this. But we talked to a lot, PK, and I think these guys really show that this is the kind of group we want to partner with.
Facilities are just so important, and PK and I were doing the show in the Delta Center when it was remodeled the first time, and it's undergoing another one now. And I'm sure you've probably had conversations with people around Florida. The only reason you invest $1.45 billion in a stadium remodel at the Swamp is how much money you're going to generate down the road. They must be thinking it's going to be transformative. How important is the Huntsman Center remodel to what you're doing, and how involved will Otro Capital be in that? Because it does seem like there's a lot of potential to be unlocked there.
Yeah, the Huntsman Center you're exactly right. I mean, it's historical. It's incredible, the moments that we've been in there, but its time is getting to that place where it doesn't work for everyone that comes in there. And so where we are in that process right now is an RFP went out from the university about 6 weeks ago, looking for kind of a design team to help us do more feasibility work. Because once the decision was made, let's really make all our efforts into putting it in the same place, really recognizing that a remodel in there could be the best path. We want this group to come in and really take a hard look. Can we remodel, or do we need to rebuild? And that group is underway. Populous received that work, and they are, and VCBO, who's a local firm, they are working together right now as we speak, looking at that in a really, really deep way, from deep engineering all the way through different aspects of the building. Once we have that, the university will get back together and we'll start going forward. As far as Otro being involved with that, that's not part of any contractual obligations. We know that these guys are experts. They've done a lot of buildings, and so they'll be really helpful in those conversations, but they're not contractually involved in that project as we sit here today. But I know they'll be helpful.
The story of the day also, obviously, is the Texas Tech Brendan Sorsby thing, and I always thought deep down there was no way he was going to play, and I was hoping that the thing would get done as soon as possible, so when we go down to Texas here in a couple of weeks, we're not hijacked. We can actually talk football rather than all this other stuff. So from your perspective, I would imagine you viewed it as, at least I did, as a possible headache, and I would think that you're satisfied now that this headache is gone.
Well, I think the whole week was just really disheartening, to be candid. I thought from the moment, the moment that I could even go back further when Texas Tech sent the letter out saying they were going to support, him in the appeals process was a head scratcher for me, on something that is a line that should never be crossed. There's a lot of things we can argue about outside the lines, and we certainly have been doing that as an industry for years now. But within the line, performance-enhancing and drugs or gambling certainly come to mind. So I think from that moment on, I think where I was just really thrown was when the judge ruled the way he did. Never thought in any kind of way that would happen. And so, yeah, it's been a tough week for the league. There's no question. I saw the news last night. I was at an event when it happened. I read it like everybody else. I don't have a lot of details. I really appreciate Brett Yormark for his leadership on this, his clear stance on this, and keeping us very much informed. And I'm sure we'll have another call here shortly to talk it all through. But there's still a couple scars, I think, from the week that we all need to talk about, kind of what happened and review it. But from a standpoint of him not taking the field, I think that's really important. And again, it's, I wish the very best for the young man and he gets the help he needs. And I kind of felt like that argument would act like the rest of us didn't feel that way in the industry. Of course we did. So anyway, very disappointing, very disheartening, but I'm glad that it seems to be a resolution.
Is the lesson from this that the NCAA has a monopoly and the courts are going to treat their decisions one way, but none of those antitrust issues impact the league? And if the league has rules and wants to enforce them, the courts are going to handle that another way? Is it going to force the leagues to step up and take a heavier hand instead of deferring to the NCAA?
It's really an interesting point, something I was thinking about last night. Obviously I was really we all saw the lawsuit that dropped against the Texas AG yesterday morning. Brilliantly written in a lot of different ways. Don't know if that led to what happened yesterday, but one can perhaps assume, but I don't know. But the one thing that has been interesting is, for the most part, the NCAA has been winning the court cases when we talk about eligibility. Now, not everyone. There's been some high profile in the Pavia case and certainly the Sorsby case, but there's a lot you don't hear about that the NCAA has been winning. So that one was a shocker. I think they lost another one last week where the judge cited the Sorsby case. So there was damage in this, But yeah, the courts have always kind of claimed that, outside of in your conference, you could, have some antitrust protection and you can enforce the rules. So that's something to learn from. Whether that's something that carries forward, we'll have to wait and see. Lastly, the other thing is monumental week, right? Thursday's the markup of the Save College Sports Act in the Senate. We'll see where that goes, and if it does pass the Senate, that'll be a big deal. And if it gets to the House, there'll be adjustments. But we've got some big moments ahead in terms of where this thing is all going in the next month or so. And if it does not go through now, we can all assume that Washington, D.C. will not be leaning in for many, many years to come if it doesn't pass now.
Well, Mark, we appreciate the time this morning. Thanks for joining us. I know a lot of Ute fans are curious where this is going, so thanks for coming out and talking to them.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys.
All right, there is Mark Harlan. When we come back, Brian Taylor talking U.S. Open. Stay with us.
Overwhelmed? That was me with diabetes. Hey, I'm Jabron. Between teaching and coaching, managing diabetes felt like an extra job. With the Freestyle Libre 3 CGM, I get real-time glucose readings and have the insights to make informed decisions. My life feels lighter now. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Thumbtack presents Tile Trouble. Every single time I use my sink, I make eye contact with the uneven grout on my kitchen backsplash. The crooked corners eye me, and I'm haunted by more tiling questions than I thought possible. What kind of pro can fix a backsplash? Can I replace one cracked tile, or should I replace them all? What if I just use Thumbtack? I can hire top-rated pros, read reviews, and compare prices with a tap, all on the app. Thumbtack knows homes. Download the app today.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is U.S. Open Championship Week, which means we're going to be hearing from Brian Taylor and Bob Casper all week long. Brian and Bob's appearances are brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, Mountainland Supply, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Uinta Golf. Brian, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
The U.S. Open is going to Shinnecock. There is a famous name in U.S. golf history, and I had occasion to be driving back on the freeway on a Saturday morning a week ago, and I got to hear a big chunk of your show, and I heard you list off all the big-time courses that you have been able to play. This show's really worked out for you.
What a show off.
I was like, you're just checking
Show some humility.
One famous course after another. I don't really need to play Pine Valley again. I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, cool, good to be you.
This guy.
I shouldn't put that out in the universe, should I?
No.
That's not good.
Bragger.
Yeah.
But the show has worked out for you well, hasn't it?
You know, it's been pretty cool. It probably doesn't hurt that my partner's dad won a couple U.S. Opens, and they have been so kind to invite us to media days to be able to play some of these great golf courses. So Pine Valley, by the way, wasn't one of those. That was just a relationship. And so the point I was trying to make with that, obviously, if we had a producer with a honk button, he would have probably been firing away that morning. But the point is that just because a golf course is rated one of the best golf courses, or just because it's really a hard golf course like Oakmont last year, doesn't necessarily mean it's a fun golf course to play. And so I was just trying to offer some perspective on Shinnecock that is one of my probably top three favorite golf experiences that I've ever had. It's one of those golf courses that's hard, but it's still fun to play. And so I was sad this year. We did get invited 5 weeks ago. Wasn't able to make it, but it's a treat. It feels like one of those places when you walk on the property, you just know you're at a special place. The golf course is fun. And I'll tell you what, so what makes it fun? That was what the discussion came into. Fairways are pretty generous, so you can hit driver. You don't feel like, you stand up on the tee and you're already defeated. The challenge then becomes a second shot. And I think when you're a golfer and you like the challenge, you play regularly, the second shot is what's exciting because you can see the goal. It's in range. It's right there in front of you. And can you hit the shot that will enable you to conquer the test that is before you? And I think Shinnecock offers that beautifully. It's right there. It's not easy. It's not just a lot of tour courses. These guys are driver wedge, throw darts at the flag and tap in for birdie or eagle and move on. This one's a little more strategic. Obviously, that's why it's hosting major championships and not just regular tour events. But it's a special place. It's a fun golf course. It's a hard golf course. It's going to test these players. But I don't think you're going to hear the players complain so much about the setup or the golf course as they do just their own ability or inability to master it.
What's this deal I've been reading about watering the course?
You.
What was that?
Sorry, that was Yak referencing the line about if we had a producer at a honk.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Good for you.
I missed that.
Exactly. I hear that playing over in my head a lot. That's one of my favorite drops.
What is...
This interview is now wrecked. Go ahead, Yak. Just 20 more times. It's fine.
What's the deal about watering the course at 2:00? I've heard something about that. What are they talking about?
So what's interesting is that the weather, because of where this sits in between the bay and the ocean, and it's fully exposed links-style golf course, one of the finest links courses the U.S. has to offer. Scotland's over there saying, "Wait a minute, But look, this is one of the best. Long Island is just such a gem. If you wanted to have you could have a whole show on, where's the best place to play golf, and Long Island's got to be right there. So what happens is the weather can change so drastically, right? I mean, when you're near the ocean, all kinds of things can happen. You can get extra humidity, you can get extra wind, you can get lackey, you get all kinds of things that can take place. What happened, if you remember 2004, when Retief Goosen won, they actually lost the golf course in some ways. Like they had to water the 7th green in between groups because balls couldn't stay. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, that was weird. Look, the guys out there, literally a dude out there with a hose, just like Dad was yelling at him to go water the lawn.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And Johnny Miller was on the radio or on the television. He was freaking out. Like, this is something you don't do. But the golf course, I remember that year we were with Mike Weir. He's a recent Masters champion. Go ahead, honk it. And he was on the he was on the putting green, and he took his bottle of water and he just poured it on the putting green, and it rolled off like he had sprayed, some sort of like, you just waxed it, his ball. None of the water would seep into the putting green. It just rolled off, beaded and rolled off, and it just was really dry. And I think what they learned, the USGA made a shift that year. Although Phil Mickelson double hit a ball while it was rolling, even 10 years later when he played there, just because he was so frustrated with how fast the greens are, and some people complained about it. But what happens is, back to your original question, when the wind gets up and it blows, it changes throughout the day to where they could lose it. And of course, the USGA wants to keep this thing on a razor's edge. They want it to play as hard as it can possibly play within the setup, with the bounds of the setup of the architect. And so, given that they are pushing those limits, if the weather dictates it, they're going to put some water on it, in the afternoons, just to keep it to be, somewhat consistent from morning to afternoon. That's a little unusual, but I think that's the kind of, where this one sits. And you don't want to lose it. Gosh, watching Retief Goosen, I think he had 11 putts on the back 9 on Sunday. It was unbelievable. Phil Mickelson and Fred Funk were also, I think, a group ahead of Retief. And it was, so you look at that, like Retief Goosen, not a bomber, but just a great ball striker straight, not necessarily known for a great putter, but he had a week. Phil Mickelson, bomber. Fred Funk, straightest driver ever in tour. So you look at that, and so many different kinds of players can compete. You look at Tony Finau was in contention last time. Brooks Koepka won, both bombers. Tommy Fleetwood shot 63 on Sunday and lapped the field and came up to finish in the top 5 or 3 or 4 or whatever he ended up finishing. So again, different styles of players still have the opportunity. Corey Pavin won here, right? Again, kind of more of a Tommy Fleetwood, Fred Funk type of player. And so I think it's just cool. It's a cool golf course, and hopefully the conditions aren't the story, and it's the play of the eventual champion.
One thing I love about your show is I love the caddy. Sometimes he comes on and just tells great stories and really takes you behind the scenes. And other times, and it was this case, he really gives you real insight. And I thought it was really interesting when he said the greens are just they're a fraud, they're a lie. Don't trust your eyes and what you see on TV. When he said 50% of the green area doesn't hold the ball. The combination of the fast and how the slope, can be a false front or back or side. And it may, on TV, you may see the green, but the ball's not stopping there. And sometimes it's going to, even though you hit the green, it's going to roll it not into the first cut, but into the deep rough, from which it's borderline unplayable. That seems like a real problem. And I guess there's always the chance that they could mow it a little different and create a little more space and give the golfers a little more break. But the way the caddy was talking, it sounded like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think what he was speaking to there is the relative, so you say, well, the pretty good-sized greens here at Shinnecock, which a lot of links greens are. It gives them different pin locations and that type of thing. Augusta's, famous for large greens. But what I've learned over the years in talking to players at the Masters is it's very, very rarely do they ever actually fire at a flagstick at Augusta. In order to get it close to Augusta, you got to hit in a different spot, let the slope take it to that place. There's really no way of just throwing a dart at Augusta. And I think that's pretty similar to what he's saying here. So pretty big green surfaces, but if you don't hit your spot, it could land right next to the hole. I think Pinehurst is a little bit this way as well. USGA loves this kind of thing. It just requires a lot of accuracy and discipline when you're coming into these greens. And so I think that's why you're seeing Pinehurst as an anchor site. I think you're going to see Shinnecock as one of those as well. And it's one of the original founding clubs for the USGA back in the late 1800s. So, that's what he's speaking to, is sure, hitting the green or landing your ball initially on the green is a goal for sure, but trying to get it to stay there and give yourself somewhat of a makeable putt is a whole nother story. And so these guys have such control over their golf balls, right? I mean, that's what you don't really realize as a recreational golfer. We love to go out there and you hit it on the green. We were at Black Desert yesterday, and the greens, because of the 100-degree weather, the greens are really, really nice and they roll, but they're pretty sticky and they're relatively slow compared to what you would see in the fall when the tour comes to town. Balls, you can hit chip shots and it'll roll up and stop, where once you get those things slick a little bit, firmed up, you have to be able to put spin on the ball and the right spin on the ball in order to get it anywhere near the place that you want to finish up. So that's what I love with watching these guys. It's a master class. The USGA wants to, as they say, get every club in your bag dirty, and they want to also challenge the 6 inches between your ears as well, and just make it a really, really difficult stern test. And hopefully that'll happen again. Like I say, hopefully we don't have any controversial type setups, that it's more just let Shinnecock do what it's going to be, and that's what they promise they're going to do this week. But it's this one's, a lot of the guys I talk to, they're like, this one's ready. All you have to do is just change the pins and put USGA tee markers on the box, and it's ready to host the U.S. Open at any time. So that's the kind of course we got this week.
I was thinking about going, Brian, but then I see footlongs are $19. That's out of my price range.
Well, but the good news is you only really need to eat half of that, so split it with a buddy, $8.50, you're in.
I don't know if you've done the math, but $8.50 is not half of 19.
Or $9.50. Dang it. Let's go close. So close. That's why I was a communications major and not a math major. I could never do it.
Come on, a bad math deserves a honk, Yock. There we go.
But the good thing is a Corona Premium is $12.95, but a Corona non-alcoholic will save you $1. That's $11.95.
Who's drinking non-alcoholic Coronas?
I assume you, Brian, but I guess I was wrong.
I'm not drinking that. No, I
so
mean,
you're drinking the Corona Premier?
I'm not drinking either Coronas. I mean, you're either drinking Corona or you're not. That's the way I would look at it.
Draw a line in the sand, Brian.
I'm not a beer drinker, but if you're going to drink beer, I think you drink beer for a reason. Not because it's refreshing. It's not less filling. It doesn't taste great. There's a reason.
What is the reason?
Just taking the marketing guys to town. It's not less filling. It doesn't taste great.
All right, what's the reason then?
Is John Madden going to come?
You need to manufacture some enjoyment. If you need that, go for it. But it's not. I mean, if you're not going to drink the Corona, have a lemonade, for crying out loud. Jeez. Have a Coke.
Okay, lemonade, though,
and a smile.
A Sun Cruiser pink lemonade is $14.45. So now I'm paying almost $2 more.
So really, you decided you're going to go to the U.S. Open in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
And you're complaining about $12 drinks. Okay. I mean, maybe this one's not for you.
Well,
PJ.
but I wasn't golfing at Black Desert. We were there yesterday. No, I wasn't there. I can maybe afford Dixie Red Hills, but you're golfing at Black Desert.
That's right. And you know what? And you should be at Black Desert because the drinks are included. Except for the Coronas. You got to pay for those.
Yeah, I can't afford it. If they were included, I would go.
Hey, when are we going to play golf anyway? Why don't we have the DJ PK Open? When's that going to happen?
On the 12th.
And by open, I mean invitation.
Never.
I know you would just let it.
Why not?
I pitched it. It fell flat.
Pitch it again.
Okay, I'll pitch it again.
Pitch it a third time. You got way more status now.
Yeah, we'll see.
Here's my thought. If you think winning a U.S. Open is difficult, how about standing over an 8-foot putt? Let's say you get a sponsor to give away $1,000. You got an 8-footer, but PK gets to heckle you as you line that up and try to make it.
Just a couple $100.
I want to see that.
Yeah, just a couple $100 of merchandise on the line in the old clubhouse gift shop.
If
right?
I'm putting an 8-footer for $1,000, I'm just hoping I make the comeback.
I've heard people like to toy with other human beings a lot, so maybe he likes to do that.
How do you feel about Scotty Scheffler in the Career Slam? We going to get a little history? What do you think?
It's been kind of an interesting few weeks on tour. I mean, you've got Aaron Rai winning the PGA Championship. I mean, I know we all predicted that. JT Poston won recently. Bud Colley got an emotional victory Sunday. You've got Wyndham Clark sort of resurrected his career at the Byron Nelson. So it hasn't exactly been, sort of the who's who since Rory won, the second of his two Masters, I guess. And there's that math working again. So it's hard to say, right? That said, when we did our way too early major championship predictions back in January, Bob and I both settled on this one. If we're going to pick Scotty, and you feel like you have to pick Scotty to win at least one major, right, the way he's played the last couple of years, it might as well be here at Shinnecock. It might as well be like Grand Slam Bob wants to add a whole list. Bob wants that Grand Slam club to be jam-packed with people by the time we're done with this show.
Yeah.
And so he's rooting for that. But I really think, look, Scotty turns 30 on Sunday. There's a lot of really cool storylines that go along with that. He definitely hasn't been peak Scotty Scheffler this year. And yet when you say that, I think he's got like 5 runner-up finishes in the last several starts. I mean, he's such a good player. His stats are all still right there. Putting is good. Driving is good. Maybe he hasn't been quite as close. If you listened to the show Saturday, you also heard the caddy go on a way too long of a rant about proximity. But his proximity is really the only thing that I've been able to see that has, potentially slipped a little bit. And back to your comment about there's certain places on the greens that you need to be pretty precise with, perhaps that could be his undoing this week if he doesn't go on to win. But, I still think Scotty's the guy to beat. He's number one player in the world. He knows how to win major championships. He's super mentally tough. Doesn't seem to get rattled other than we saw it, right, a couple weeks ago. He's kind of going off on Ted Scott when the wind changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and the caddy told us, the caddy told us off the air that Ted was really struggling with that, that was a difficult thing. He kind of internalizes those kinds of things. And so, we'll see. Hopefully everything's, hunky dory this week with those guys and they get it all going. But I don't think you can say you don't like Scotty. I think he's a betting favorite for a reason. And, he's number one player for a reason. And he's the guy to beat. But, if he doesn't win this week, does that mean his window's closed, that Scotty's done? Far from it. But this is certainly a good opportunity for him this week. It'd be super historic.
Certainly would. There's no question about that. Do you think there are others who are suited for this type of course with the potential weather conditions being a little windier?
Yeah, I really liked Brooks Koepka. He was sort of trending, and then he gets the hand injury that he withdrew in the final round before the final round of the Canadian Open. So I don't really know. We fly out today, and we'll get out there on course tomorrow. So hopefully be able to see, if Brooks is there, what he's, how he's looking with the swing and that kind of thing. If he's happened to favor that at all, Shinnecock will expose that, so he's kind of up in the air on that one. I think Xander Schauffele's a guy that you got to keep an eye on. Xander is, he's top. He has 10 wins on tour. He's top 10 this year in the Players, the Masters, the PGA Championship. And then when you look at U.S. Opens, he's played in 9 of them, and he's had 7 top 10 finishes. He just is I think he leads the field in scoring average at U.S. Opens for players not to have won the U.S. Open. The guy just feels like he's a U.S. Open stat machine. And yet, that doesn't get you a trophy, but it should factor into the conversation. So I like Xander. Rory, again, talk about history. Only 6 players have won the Masters and the U.S. Open in the same year, and the last to do that was Jordan Spieth back in 2015. He does have 30 tour wins, most of any player in the field. Imagine that. We're here at a place where Rory McIlroy is sort of the elder statesman and most successful player, which is I thought was pretty interesting with Tiger and Phil both, out of the field this week. And so interesting. The other one I like is Matt Fitzpatrick. This is a guy that I just really like his play. I think he's going to win a major this year. I picked him to win the Open Championship coming up next month, but I wouldn't surprise me. He had a really good finish. What did he finish, second or third last week? And runner-up last week. And he has 6 top 10s in 14 starts this year, so including 3 victories. So I like Matt Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I know a guy who picked him when he was a total unknown, and he won the U.S. Open. And the other guys, one of guys, like he was born to play golf, and he got beat by somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about, but yet he picked Matthew Fitzpatrick. You remember who that guy was, DJ?
A complete unknown.
What are you, Timothy Schley?
Yes, and I wanted a honk with that. Me singing on the air deserves a honk. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I did pick Matthew Fitzpatrick.
I think we all knew that without you saying that, but I'm glad you confirmed it for the two people in the car who couldn't follow the plot.
And that you quoted the Bob Dylan movie, right?
I did.
And so we went and saw that movie, and my wife, a Phoenix native who's lived in the West her whole life, there was a scene in the movie where Bob gets perturbed or something, and he's going to ride his motorcycle to Newport. And she looks at me, oh, I'm sure. He's really going to ride his motorcycle to Newport? I said, yeah, I think that's Newport, Rhode Island, not Newport Beach.
He was going cross
Context
country.
matters, right?
That was her Newport reference.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
Oh, that's awesome. That one got me. Okay. Hey, Brian, we appreciate it as always. We'll do the draft with Bob, and then we'll get back to you later in the week, and you can critique our picks.
I love it. We're looking forward to it. Thanks, boys.
There's Brian Taylor. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Hey, it's your ceiling vent, so I'm dripping. Could be the rain, could be the upstairs bathroom. Yikes. You could hire the guy your neighbor recommended, but I'm pretty sure that's just his cousin. Do we know if he's licensed, or does he just own a ladder?
Listen to your home. Go with Thumbtack. Upload a photo or voice note, and we'll diagnose your project and match you with the right pro for the job. Thumbtack. We know homes. Hire the right pro today.
Summer is all about freedom, fun, and growing up. And between the ages of 9 and 13, kids are starting to form their views about alcohol. With more independence, their still developing brains need more guidance and support than ever. That's why summer is the perfect time to stay connected and plan fun, safe family activities together. Research shows kids who spend quality time with their parents doing what they enjoy are less likely to drink underage. And when kids feel close to you, they're more likely to listen, especially when you set clear expectations. In fact, kids who drink before 15 are far more likely to struggle with alcohol later. This summer, create a no-bummer summer with fun, alcohol-free activities for your kids. Go to summer.parentsempowered.org to take a quick quiz and discover ideas tailored to your family. A little time together can make a big difference. For more information and to learn more about how to prevent underage drinking, visit parentsempowered.org.